What up, folks? This is Pop Culture. I'm Alex Pop. And yes, I know it's the middle of February and I'm way late on getting this list out there. But screw it, this is my channel. I can be as late as I want. I can make a response video to Peanut Butter Jelly Time from a decade ago. So these are my greatest films of 2016. Just a heads up, I never had the chance to see movies like Moonlight and Elle, so you won't see those on the list. And anything else highly acclaimed that's absent is just overrated. So let's get into it. To start off, I don't usually include documentaries on my list, but I was considering making an exception with the eye-opening expose, Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party. So I made a deal with myself. If Hillary wins the election, I include it on the list. If the Electoral College revolts and votes for Hillary, I place it at number 1. Well, neither happened, so I'm omitting it from the list, but still giving it an honorable mention. And a shout-out goes to Sing Street, The Edge of 17, The Accountant, The Conjuring 2, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Arrival, and Finding Dory. And I also have to mention that no movie in 2016 was more anticipated for me than The Land Before Time 14, Journey of the Brave, and it proved to be a very pleasant return to childhood. But the best is yet to come. Here are my top 10 favorite movies of 2016. Number 10. If this was Martin Scorsese's way of apologizing to Christians for The Last Temptation of Christ, I'd say apology accepted. Silence is number 10 on my list. This movie is a convicting tale about a man's faith wrestling with doubt as he witnesses the horror of Christian persecution in Japan in the 17th century. While I had personal issues with the final moments of the movie, it's still a powerful story with excellent acting and direction and a slow suspense atmosphere created by the film's lack of musical score. The funny thing about Silence, though, it's only the second best movie of the year starring Andrew Garfield as a Christian facing evil in Japan. Not that I'm giving away what's to come on the list. Number 9. Don't Breathe? I did not need to be told that. This movie leaves you breathless. In a year of a few surprising horror movies, Don't Breathe was the best. A couple of teens break into a blind man's house to steal money, only to find out that the man's other senses are so adept that he can get the better of them. This ingenious premise never loses its effect, as the movie piles on one inventive and frightening scenario after another, including a sequence where the blind man shuts out all the lights, making the kids as blind as he is. The movie also brings forward points about how we rationalize the bad things we do. As everyone in this movie wrongs someone else, it challenges you to question who you should be rooting for, or if we should just throw away any sense of right and wrong as the blind man has. Whatever way you look at it, Don't Breathe is a non-stop thrill ride that has you gasping in relief when it finally concludes. Number 8. Deepwater Horizon seems to be the Peter Berg movie from this year that makes everyone else's top 10 of 2016 lists. While that movie worked as a straightforward historical disaster flick, it didn't have nearly the amount of human spirit as Patriots Day. This nerve-wracking thriller chronicles the 2013 bombing of the Boston Marathon, its aftermath, and the manhunt for the bombers, with white-knuckled action, historical precision, and such a timely message about pulling together and overcoming conflict to stand and fight against a threat. Most of the dialogue, especially at the beginning where we see real people living normal lives, is really natural, save for a few lines from Mark Wahlberg's fictional character that I thought were a bit embellished. But such flaws are few and far between. This movie had me flinching and holding my mouth, and overall, just moved by the end. It is Peter Berg's opus as of yet. Number 7 is the best animated film of the year, Zootopia. Disney is clearly in the middle of their longest renaissance yet, though I did find Moana to be just slightly overrated because it followed the Disney formula a bit too much. With Zootopia, Disney has made something totally original, with colorful animation, a frenetic pace, endearing characters, and an abundance of laughter. And if the voice talents of Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman don't prove that there needs to be an Academy Award for Best Voice Performance, I don't know what will. In essence, it's also an allegory for America, how people come here expecting freedom of tension between different people groups, but that's not entirely the case. Zootopia delivers such potent themes while still being its own thing, and without having to use any of the buzzwords like racism or bigotry. I can just imagine all the kids that saw this movie who are going to grow up and realize how relevant it is. Zootopia is a fast, funny, and rewatchable good time for all ages. Number 6 is a movie that I honestly kind of feel a little dirty for putting on the list, but by golly, I have to. Nocturnal Animals is a complex, layered psychological thriller that lingers with you long after you've left the theater. And it's also a deliberately uncomfortable movie. In the mold of a Stanley Kubrick film, it exposes secret sins that people have. And in the story, as people are overcome by these sins, they become creatures of the darkness and become blind to the light. This movie is an unsettling, thought-provoking experience with amazing performances from the entire cast. Let's just hope that no nocturnal animals are created in the viewing of this film. Number 5. No exaggeration here. Captain America Civil War is the greatest Marvel movie ever! This was the single most fun time I had at the cinemas all year. The action sequences are fantastically inventive. That airport battle alone, rest assured that the movie was going to make my list. And the characters are very fleshed out this time around, especially Captain America and Iron Man, and their motivations have actually had build-up from previous installments, rather than just bringing in a Bruce-Natasha romance out of nowhere. Captain America Civil War is among my favorite superhero movies, second only to The Dark Knight. And Team Cap all the way. Number 4. Easily the biggest Oscar snub for Best Picture this year, Nate Parker's The Birth of a Nation. Appropriately using the title of that Klan pleaser from a century ago, this movie helps retain the would-be thwarted legacy of Nat Turner and the revolt that he led as an enslaved priest. But this isn't just the story of slaves versus slave owners. It's also the story of a clash between two groups of people who claim to be living by the same holy book, but are bearing vastly different fruits. Nuanced direction, superb acting, and beautiful photography, The Birth of a Nation is one of the most important films of the year. Take that, D.W. Griffith. Number 3 is a movie that got half positive, half negative reviews. Not that it deserved any negative reviews, but because the credits contain the words, directed by Michael Bay. Number 3 is 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Not only has Bay once again proven to me that he is the action filmmaker of our age, but he has crafted something mesmerizing here. 13 Hours is an epic war film that truly honors the unsung heroes of Benghazi, Libya in 2012, who were abandoned by their own government and thrust into a battle that didn't need to happen, and yet they still fought to save American lives. This movie pays respect to their incredible bravery with solid characterizations and an eye for detail. It's a gripping, gut-wrenching experience that left me stunned silent. Mr. Bay, I would salute you for saluting these men, but what difference at this point does it... Oh, wait a second. It does still make a difference. Number 2, the runner-up on my list is the immensely entertaining masterpiece from Whiplash director Damien Chazelle, La La Land. Naturally, a throwback to classic cinema is going to appeal to me, but what I found so fascinating about this film is that it uses the naive, whimsical nature of 50s musicals like Singing in the Rain and makes it into this happy-go-lucky world where free-spirited dreamers see themselves, where you can float through a planetarium or get out of your car and have a musical number in the middle of California traffic. But the movie shows, through its engaging romantic story and all-around perfect ending, that even fulfilling your dreams doesn't necessarily lead to a life without trouble or sacrifices, which really sets it apart from many other movies where the theme is achieving one's goals. Amazing cinematography, great musical numbers, charming chemistry, and exceptional performances from Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, La La Land is a sheer delight. Number 1. Well, my buds guessed my number 1 worst movie of the year, so surely they can guess the number 1 best. John and Alex Beers, you know what it is. The one that I've been talking about like all year, about the one who held to their faith through thick and thin. You know what it is. The number 1 best movie of 2016 is God's Not Dead 2. He is surely alive. Haha, wish I could see your faces. My number 1 favorite movie of the year is Hacksaw Ridge. Man, what a film. This was a more than welcome return for the underappreciated director Mel Gibson. Hacksaw Ridge tells the incredible life story of conscientious objector Desmond Doss, who served in World War II but never fired a single bullet, he spent his entire service saving the lives of allies as well as enemies. I was enthralled by every moment of this movie. The story, the writing, the action, the romance, all floored me. All of the performances were fantastic, from Andrew Garfield, Teresa Palmer, Luke Bracey, Vince Vaughn, and especially Hugo Weaving, the biggest Oscar snub this year in terms of acting. The war sequences were the most horrifyingly realistic I had ever seen. They made the violence in Saving Private Ryan look like Three Stooges slapstick. Not to mention, it's always refreshing to see a movie about a Christian man that doesn't preach. It's all show, no tell. Anyone who's religious can take inspiration from Desmond's refusal to take back the promise that he made to God, and anyone else can take inspiration from the fact that, no matter what, he would never be anything but himself. Hacksaw Ridge is nothing short of a cinematic triumph that is fascinating and relentlessly uplifting, and every aspect of the filmmaking is simply phenomenal. I can't praise it enough. It is one of those movies that will stay with me for the rest of my days. I'm putting my money on La La Land to win Best Picture this Sunday, but darn it all, I'd love to see Hacksaw win. And that concludes my best films of 2016. Let me know in the comments which movies from this year you loved the most, assuming that you still care now that it's February. I can't wait to do more of these lists at the end of each year, and to see what more 2017 has in store for us. Thanks for watching, I'm Alex Pop, catch you later.